On this video, I'm going to talk with you about fascism. Yeah, there is a relationship between what I call our disembodied language, our usual way of talking in which we do not listen to ourselves while we speak, in which we make other people listen, in which we're listening to other people, but we're not listening to ourselves. That is the hierarchical way of talking we were all conditioned with, and we have yet to acknowledge this. We have yet to admit that this is the truth. We have all been conditioned to not listen to ourselves while we speak. And yes, it is precisely our common way of talking which sets the stage for fascism. Everybody has historically wondered, how could it happen that the German people, who there's such a culture, right? Such a culture with wonderful music and wonderful poetry and literature and all that and art. How could they come to something as egregious as fascism? Well, it was the common way of talking. And the common way of talking has never been properly addressed. Our disembodied language, if we have tried to address it, it was always addressed with more of the same disembodied language. So we have never stopped our disembodied language, we've never recognized our disembodied language, and we have never properly addressed our disembodied language with embodied language, in which we listen to ourselves while we speak. That's what this writing is about. So bear with me and please take this very serious, because it is very serious that there is still no attention for this whatsoever. Of course, I cannot see or know what anyone is supposedly thinking, because I can only rely on what they are saying or what they are writing, as there exists no inner language. You see, with your disembodied language, you believe there is inner language. You believe in all sorts of things, and whatever it is that you believe is a reference to inner language. So there is no inner language, and yet you believe there is inner language, but the belief is false. It is the illusion of inner language that everyone believes in, because we were conditioned to have disembodied language in which we do not listen to ourselves, but we listen to each other. We try to make each other listen to us, but we never overcome our superstitious belief in inner language. Surely, I can tell you what people fantasize while they are talking, when they don't listen to themselves while they speak. Yeah? I know embodied language. And I know that everyone with disembodied language fantasizes about inner language. So yes, I can tell you what you are fantasizing about while you are talking. And yeah, you do not listen to yourself while you speak in your usual way of talking. And you engage in disembodied language every day. I know that. And how do I know that? It's not because I have, performed some miracle. No, I have myself, of course, for a long time engaged in disembodied language. And I know exactly what it is. And I know exactly what it is to fantasize about inner language. But I no longer do that. I adhere to the overt nature of language. Yeah, so I have done it myself, and I know exactly what it is like to constantly compete. You're competing with other speakers, and you're competing with them, of course, overtly. You're trying to dominate each other. You're trying to manipulate each other with your language. That's what people do to win the battle for attention in what we call our communication, our interaction. I know what that is like. And I also know what that is like, that when you do that overtly, you inevitably imagine covertly, by presumably talking with yourself inside your head, yeah, because you cannot always say what you want to say. You cannot always argue what you want to argue. No, so you inevitably imagine that there is inner language. You believe in the illusion of inner language. You've sanctified the illusion of inner language, and that has gained more importance in your life than your own individually lived experience, which you cannot express with your disembodied language. So, since you cannot get to your own experience with your language that you use, your disembodied language, you want to somehow save yourself from, I don't know, not being able to express yourself by imagining that you inwardly understand it all and somehow have figured it out. And your belief in whatever goes on inside of you supposedly is the real truth. Well, that's not how language works. There is no language inside of you. Your mind is simply not true. Although it is of course true that in disembodied language we are constantly arguing and fighting and trying to dominate each other, it is also true that when we are not involved in this adversarial behavior, that we are believing we are, what's they say? Oh yeah, so when you are not fighting and arguing overtly, yeah, when you are not engaging in this adversarial behavior, when you supposedly, I don't know, are the better person or so, you sort of do not want to continuously be involved in that struggle for attention and that fight to win the argument. Yeah, even though when you do not do that, you are believing that you are planning. Yeah, you are believing that you are planning what you're going to say next, or what you could have said, but what you didn't say, and what and what you didn't say because you didn't want to say it. Yeah. So there's all these things that you quote unquote think about. But you know what? There is no inner language. You imagine that there is language going on inside your head. It's just not true. The fact that it has never been addressed doesn't mean that it is true, what you say, that your superstition, that your conviction, your belief in an inner self, which supposedly determines how you talk, it's all just fabricated, it's all just fantasized. So, okay, so when you're not involved in this adversarial behavior, you're still believing that you're planning what you're going to say next, and what you're going to say next, and what you could have said but didn't say, and what you didn't say because you didn't want to say it. So you're endlessly rehashing in your so-called mind what people have said, what you have said, what you could have said, what you should have said, but you never said it. You never got to the overt nature of language. And you're stuck in your head. Yeah, you're stuck in your mind. You're stuck in your fantasy of inner language. That's what that is. Okay. In embodied language, however, we always say, I have embodied language, and I always say what I want to say. Yeah. That's the correct use of language when you listen to yourself while you speak. So that's embodied language. In embodied language, we always say what we want to say. And that is why there is no mind. There is no illusion of inner language. Because we have used all our language, we have expressed it all, and we have used it correctly, overtly, and most importantly, we have used it voluntarily. Yes. My embodied language, someone's embodied language in which we listen to ourselves while we speak, is voluntary. Disembodied language is involuntary, but you do not even realize that it is involuntary. You're so used to the hierarchical way of talking in which everybody supposedly must know their place, that you don't even consider that what you say when you do not listen to yourself while you speak is always involuntary behavior. Yes, and the private speech which we imagine to have, with our disembodied language, the private speech which we call our mind, is involuntary, imaginary verbal behavior. Yes, these thoughts, they keep on going, right, inside your head. You keep on imagining that you're having all these, endless conversations. They never stop. And yet, it's all just make-believe. There is no mind. But it is involuntary. So your whole conceptualization of language is wrong. You believe that language is based on involuntary involvement. Let me just read this again. The private speech we imagine to be going on in our mind is involuntary in the same way that our involvement in disembodied language is of course involuntary. So everyone unknowingly engages in disembodied language because that is how we were historically all conditioned. And we continue to go on with this primitive reactive group behavior. But everyone, without realizing it, feels imprisoned by the incorrect use of language. And thus we all dream, this is my conclusion, I hope you have listened so far. This is why we all dream about what Hitler used to call Lebensraum. Lebensraum, which can also be translated as freedom. Yes, we all want to be free. We all want to experience the total absence of aversive stimulation. Look where I am. I'm standing here, that's my bicycle. I'm here alone by myself. There's no aversive stimulation. This is what we all dream about. The absence of aversive stimulation. And that dream, that imaginary stuff that goes on inside your head, I do not have that because I express my language overtly. So I don't have that dream. I have the reality of my embodied language, which expresses my individually lived experience beautifully, continuously, effortlessly, gloriously. So, but everybody else with disembodied language, they're stuck with this illusion of inner language, which beholds their dream, the wet dream, if you want to call it, of Lebensraum, of freedom, the dream which never comes true, the dream which is pursued at all cost, but which never is realized. Because without listening to ourselves while we speak, we cannot achieve freedom. We are not free. Our disembodied language makes us feel imprisoned. No matter how hard we try or how successful we are in escaping the reality of our disembodied language, it always is having its consequences, its negative consequences for us. And that's why we force each other endlessly into believing this or that. We're talking at each other, not with each other. We are not on the same page. We are divided. We are separate. We are not connecting. No. And there's all kinds of reasons why also that is not happening, but I cannot all go into that. I want to stay with this issue of fascism. Because now that I have said that everybody with disembodied language is just hopelessly stuck with their illusion of inner language, this is how fascism emerges. It emerges from our usual misunderstood and wrongly addressed disembodied language. So if we are truly against fascism, we should be against disembodied language. We should, like I do, stop our disembodied language, recognize our disembodied language, describe the disembodied language correctly with our embodied language. And yeah, consider disembodied language a thing of the past. It had to do with our ancient group behavior, which we've always had, and now we have become individuals with our embodied language. We have become free, yeah? And there's no quest for freedom once we are free, yeah? So I am free, so I don't care about pursuing freedom. I am free. I don't dream about it. I express freedom with my embodied language. Plus, I express my individually lived experience correctly. So if we are truly against fascism, we should all be against disembodied language, our accepted, expected, coercive, hierarchical way of talking, which based on fear inevitably results in the illusion of inner language. While psychologists and therapists have endlessly talked about presumably what they call intersubjectivity, yeah, and they've talked about therapeutic alliance, yeah, nobody has ever, as a single subject, as an N of one, nobody has ever acknowledged that language is an overt phenomenon, and that that overt phenomenon, yeah, whether it is disembodied language or embodied language, it determines all our other behavior. So if you are going to have embodied language like me, there will be no more fascism. And yes, there will also be no more religion, and there will also be all kinds of other things that we have believed, which are no longer, they are no longer valid, because we have expressed the language of freedom, our individual freedom.